Hey guys, I hope y'all are having a beautiful day today. So we're going to be doing almost a full face of Pat McGrath products today. So they recently had a 25% off site-wide sale for the summer. This was actually like a few weeks ago now. So I bought only a couple of things, but what I really wanted to buy was a Pat McGrath bronzer. And they don't have bronzers yet, and I'm really hoping that they come out with those soon. I just knew when Pat McGrath came out with the Divine blushes, I just knew that bronzers were going to be the next release from this brand, but instead they're coming out with an eyeshadow palette soon, and I'm wondering, like, where are the Pat McGrath bronzers? I would love to see some bronzers from this brand. So I did go ahead and try to bronze slightly with something else from Pat McGrath, so I will show y'all what that is when we get to that part of the routine. So what I use for my brows, my eyeliner, lip liner, and setting spray, those are not Pat McGrath products, but everything else that I use today is from Pat McGrath. So I will show y'all everything that I use to come up with today's look, which I hope that y'all like. So before we get into this, if you're here for the first time, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. My name is SonyaNicole and I do makeup videos here. I do some stuff specifically for us 40 and over makeup lovers as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, please make sure you subscribe while you're here today. I would really appreciate it. Okay, y'all, let's jump right into it. So of course I'm going to be using the Pat McGrath foundation today, but that one wears a lot better on me when I put powder on underneath it. So I'm going to start off with powder first. So this is the blurring under eye powder from Pat McGrath in the shade medium. So it was designed to be an under eye powder, but I think it works really nicely for wearing it all over the face, and I prefer pressed powders as opposed to loose ones anyway. So Pat McGrath does have a loose powder, but I just prefer the pressed one. So I'm just going in with a dry sponge, and I'm just going to concentrate this powder on my T-zone area where I tend to get pretty oily. Because although I do love the Pat McGrath foundation, it doesn't last all that long on me without me putting this powder on underneath. So I'm sure y'all can see right in the T-zone area that it kind of blurred my skin out. Okay, so now we're going in with the foundation. Is it storming? All right, I gotta close my window. Hold on one second. Okay, I just closed the window, but I'm sure y'all can still hear that rain because it is quite loud. But now we're going to go in with the foundation. So I am going to wear the shade MD22 today. And I'm going to be applying it with my Morphe E63 brush. I feel like I'm yelling because the rain is like really loud. Let me know in the comments if y'all can hear it. But anyway, I'm going to be applying it with my Morphe E63 brush. Oh my goodness, it is pouring down. And you guys can see how nice and runny this foundation is. But this is a really nice foundation. I just don't wear it all that often, but it is a really nice one. So as with all of my foundations, I like to apply them on my cheek first because I always have a lot going on my cheeks, and then I like to put the residual foundation everywhere else. And for this foundation to be so liquidy, I feel like it gives really good coverage. So you can put like a good amount of this on. You can layer it up if you want to, but it's not going to feel like a whole lot of makeup on your face. Okay, so we have a nice medium coverage with our foundation, and there's definitely still some stuff peeking through, but I'm going to stop here because I just like medium coverage. That's just my preference. And I went ahead and did my brows off camera because I'm not using a Pat McGrath product for that anyway. So now we're going to go into some eyeshadow. So I'm going to take one of the concealers. This is in the shade MD20, and I'm going to use this for my eyeshadow base for today. I actually think this is a really nice base for eyeshadow because it has kind of like a soft matte finish to it, so it's not all that hydrating, I guess. Okay, so I'm just blending this out all over my lid, and I don't know if y'all can tell on camera, but it has like a really nice soft matte finish, like really no shine going on my eyelid. And I went ahead and partially did this eye. There's some things that I don't want to do until after I put my concealer on. So I'm going to show y'all what I did over here so far. So I'm going to take a couple of Pat McGrath singles. This first one is called Divine Mink. This is probably one of my favorite eyeshadows ever, if not my favorite. So this is what it looks like here. And I don't know if y'all can tell. It has like it's like a purple pinkish color with like silver in it. It's hard for me to describe the color, but I'm hoping that y'all can see like the different hues in there as I move my hand. This is like such a pretty color to me. So that's the color that I had on this lid here. So I'm just gonna take my finger to pick this color up, and I'm just gonna drag it across most of my lid area. And this color, it shifts like I said, so I can see like hues of pink, purple, and silver as I'm moving around. So I'm hoping that y'all can make it out as well. And then I like to drag my eyeshadow color up kind of high just because my lids are so folded. So, and then I'm gonna go in with another single. This one is called Deep Velvet, so it's like a very deep burgundy matte shade. So I'm gonna use this one on the outer part of the lid. I'm just gonna pack that in this area right here. And then I'm also gonna drag this along my lower lash line, kind of like 2/3 of the way in. I used to only put eyeshadow like right on the outer part of the lower lash line, but lately I've been going a lot further in than usual. So now I'm picking up a brush. This doesn't have any eyeshadow on it. I'm gonna first kind of blend right where the two colors are meeting each other just to make sure these are blending in really nicely. So I'm just moving the brush kind of like in a circular motion. And then I'm also gonna kind of blend right on the top of the colors just to kind of like buff it out some. I'm trying to blend and buff it out, but I don't want to move the shadow up because I am gonna go on top, or I should say above, these two colors with another eyeshadow in a minute. And next I'm going to tap into the Divine Rose 2 palette. I'm picking up this color here, and I'm going to use that to buff everything out. So I'm just going to basically take this color and blend around the deep velvet color. So let me know in the comments, are y'all planning on getting the I keep wanting to say the Kaleidoscope palette. I don't know why I'm going to call it Kaleidoscope, but the Utopia palette. I don't know where Kaleidoscope is coming from. But anyway, let me know in the comments, are y'all planning on getting the Utopia palette, or what do y'all think about it? Like, I don't know. On one hand, it looks different, like a different Pat McGrath palette, but on the other hand, it reminds me of this palette here. Like, I feel like there's not enough of a difference between this one and the Utopia palette to make me want to buy that one too, especially at the price. Like, I do think that Pat McGrath makeup, especially eye makeup, is like a really nice investment, but I don't know. I'm still not totally sold on that palette, but we'll see. So we're gonna stop right here for now for eyeshadow. I'm gonna move on to concealer, and then we'll finish up the eyes a little bit later on. So I'm taking the same concealer that I used to put on my lids underneath my eyeshadow. It's MD20, right? M20, medium 20. So I'm gonna use this same concealer to also go on my under eye area, and then pretty much everywhere else where I would normally put my concealer. I'm not too crazy about the color of this concealer. It's okay, but I feel like it's not the best color for me. It's kind of like orangey. I feel like all of the concealers in this line, they have kind of like a color correcting aspect to it, which isn't a bad thing. I just wish that it wasn't quite as orangey looking as it is. But anyway, I like to always take whatever I use to apply my foundation. I like to take that same brush or sponge and blend out the concealer on the chin and the forehead. I just think it helps with using the residual foundation to blend into the foundation a little bit better. But I do like to take a different brush, one that's a bit more dense. This is the Rare Beauty foundation brush, and this is what I like to use to blend out my concealer everywhere else, because I just want a little bit more coverage in these areas. So like on the chin and on the forehead, I'm not using my concealer to give me more coverage in those areas. I'm simply trying to add a little brightness to those areas with the concealer. But around the corners of my mouth, and especially under the eye, I want brightness, but I also want some coverage. I'm gonna go in with a little bit more concealer before I blend out the outer corners. If I can remember, I like to blend out the outer corners last because I'm adding brightness to this area, but I'm also using the concealer to clean up the eyeshadow. So I don't want to pick up eyeshadow when I'm blending this area out and then go back and blend over here. So I always try to remember to hit this last, but right up in here, I just feel like I need a little bit more concealer. And after I finish blending, like right in the immediate under eye area, I will kind of drag the concealer down to like where my nose stops, just to add just a little bit of brightness, like right up in here too. And then lastly, I'm gonna take this concealer over here and blend it kind of up on an angle to kind of clean up the eyeshadow over here. I actually don't like on my face, like I know a lot of people like to have like that sharp cutoff on their eyeshadow. I just feel like that doesn't look right on my face for some reason. Like to me, my eyeshadow looks better when it looks kind of buffed and it's not like so perfect looking. I think it has to do with like all these little lines that I have under my eye, but I don't know. It looks so nice on everybody else, but I feel like when I do it, it just looks so, I don't know, like overdone or something. So with that being said, I like to take my concealer and kind of clean up on the edges, but I quite often will pick my blender brush back up and just kind of do like one final blend just to kind of like buff it out. So I know I just cleaned it up, but I kind of want to make sure this doesn't look like super sharp over here, I guess. So now I'm going back into the blurring under eye powder. This time I'm going to pick it up on my favorite powder brush, and then I'm just going to use a little bit more of this just to set my concealer. And I used to always take my powder and kind of like bring it all the way down, because I did put a little bit of concealer like down here too. But now I try to remember to concentrate my under eye powder like just in the immediate under eye area. But then I will take the same powder and just set everywhere where I put the concealer. I am going to eventually put this all over my face, but I just want to go ahead and set my concealer areas right now. Okay, now since Pat McGrath does not have a bronzer yet, because I am speaking that into existence that we're going to be seeing a Pat McGrath bronzer soon, I am going to try to use a foundation, one of the Pat McGrath foundations in another shade. I'm going to see how this works as a bronzer. So let me shake this up because it's been a minute since I've used this. This is the foundation in the shade MD28. So I actually got this for free from Influencer when this first came out. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with Influencer or not, but I'm gonna just take some of this on my finger because it's like really runny, and I'm going to just pat this along the areas where I would normally put my bronzer. I'm just going to do one side first, but I don't know if y'all are familiar with how Influencer works. This is the same brush that I use to apply my foundation. But if they're going to be sampling, so it's a program where you get free stuff to sample and try out, and if they're going to be sampling a complexion product, they will let you pick the shade, but they never tell you like what's being sampled. So I didn't know like what foundation I was picking, when I picked my shade in this. So I ended up picking a shade that was just way too deep for me, and I couldn't do anything with it. Like, I couldn't return it or anything because I got it from Influencer. So although I was really happy to have gotten this for free, I couldn't really use it. So what are we thinking so far about this as a bronzer? I think it's working, but I think I'm gonna go on top with a little bit more. My hair is getting in the way because I have a fan right here blowing on me, but I think that this looks pretty nice as a bronzer. It is a little difficult to apply though because it's so liquidy, so this time I'm gonna take just a little bit. I just put a few drops directly on the brush, and I'm gonna see if I can do it this way. Yeah, that's definitely easier to apply. So I don't want to mess around and put too much of this on, so I may just have to kind of build this up in layers until I'm satisfied with like the amount of bronze that I'm getting. So, but I feel like Pat McGrath, like her whole theme for her whole makeup line is all about like being like bronzy. So I just feel like whenever she comes out with bronzers, they're going to be really, really nice. So I can't wait. I'm speaking that all the way into existence. I'm also putting just a little bit of it on the jawline and just a little bit more over here on my cheek. Yeah, I think this looks nice as a bronzer. I wouldn't bronze with this on a regular basis though, because it was kind of a nuisance to apply it because it's so liquidy, but the color of it, I think it looks pretty nice as a bronzer. I'm also going to put some on the nose, on the sides of the nose. So typically after I bronze my nose, I like to take my foundation brush or sponge. I like to use the residual foundation to help blend the bronzer out on the nose, but that brush also has bronzer on it. So I'm just gonna like really blend this out with this brush just to make sure it doesn't look like super harsh on my nose. Okay, let me know what y'all think. I think that looks pretty good. I think I'm just gonna do like one final blend right where the two foundation shades are meeting each other. And I think that looks pretty nice using that shade as a bronzer. Okay, so let's move on to some blush. This is one of the Divine blushes. This is in the shade Paradise Venus. And this is my favorite blush as of late. I do wish it was just like a little more orangey. So I think I am gonna try, is some color, I think it's called Electric Coral or something like that. Electric Bloom maybe, I think that's what it's called. I think I will try that at some point because I usually use like bronzers or blushes rather that are like corally and peachy. So this one is a bit more red than I usually use, but I do still like it. So I've been wearing that blush like crazy lately. And now I'm going to use some of my Fenty refreshing spray. So this is one of the other few products that's not going to be from Pat McGrath today. I'm going to set everything down. Oh, wait a minute. I need to set my whole face. Forgot about that. Okay. I'm going to take, I'm going to go back into the under eye powder, and I'm going to use this to set the rest of my face. So I'm just going to dab. I'm going to dab kind of like around my blush just because that is a powder product. So I don't really need to have too much of the setting powder on top of that. So I'm just kind of setting everywhere else except for like where I put that blush. Now I'm gonna go in with this Fenty spray. I'm going back into my Divine Rose palette. I'm gonna pick up this shade here. I'm gonna use that for my inner corner highlight. And I'm also going to put some right on the arch of the brow just to highlight that area, just a little tiny bit of that. I meant to do that before I use that Fenty spray, just so you'll know. So I just threw on some eyeliner from Rare Beauty, and now I'm going in with the Pat McGrath Fetisheyes mascara. Okay, so I ended up doing 2 coats of the mascara on my top lashes, and I did just a little bit on my lower lashes. So we're gonna finish everything up with some lips. I'm gonna use the Dose of Color Chocolate Chip Liner by Nyma Tang. And then I'm just going to rub my lips together just to smear this out some. And then I'm going to finish everything off with one of the lip glosses. This one is in the shade Sunset Rose, and I think that this pairs really nicely with that Divine Mink eyeshadow that I have on my lid, because it has like some pink hue to it. Here is my completed look for today using mostly Pat McGrath products. So let me know what y'all think about today's look. Let me know, would you love to see a Pat McGrath bronzer? Because I think a lot of people would, and I still feel like it's coming, and I'm hoping that it's coming soon before this summer is out. So let me know if y'all like this video today. If you did, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel before you head out, and I will see y'all back here for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.